Big South Conference football begins its second decade this fall, and the 2012 season is filled with anticipation after another great year on the gridiron. The 2011 campaign had 3 7-win teams for the first time, had 2 teams ranked in the top 25 polls the same week for just the second time in league history, and the first ever playoff victory with Stony Brook's comeback win in the first round of the FCS postseason. With 5 preseason All-Americans back in action this season, Big South football will build on its growing reputation as a major player in the football championship subdivision in 2012. Now it's time to preview the 2012 season with a look at the predicted order of finish. Having suffered through the doldrums of a winless season in 2011, Charleston Southern head coach Jay Mills and his Buccaneers are optimistic that the new season will restore the team's winning ways. And with 40 returning letter winners, including 16 starters, the Bucs are poised to turn some heads in 2012. The offense returns junior quarterback Malcolm Dixon, who has shown flashes of brilliance in 2 seasons as a spot starter. Teddy Allen returns as CSU's top rusher, as he led the squad with 360 yards and nearly 4 yards a carry. But the passing game is what has Charleston Southern excited in 2012, as all-conference wideout Nathan PERERA is back after catching 43 passes for 709 yards and 4 scores last year. Mike Davis and Corvon Archie are deep threats as well for the Bucs. The defensive side is just as impressive. Returning All-American defensive back Charles James, who also handles punt returns, is tied for 5th in Big South history with 10 career interceptions and has broken up another 19. Linebacker Michael Kokoloshek earned second-team All-Conference honors a year ago after posting a team-high 74 tackles. Also back is defensive lineman Will Hunt and his 10.5 tackles for loss. Now 2 seasons into a revamped offense, the VMI Keydets are counting on their experienced upperclassmen as well as 15 returning starters to become a challenger for the Big South Conference title. 5th-year head coach Sparky Woods is expecting a breakout junior year from Eric Cordenbrock at quarterback, who has solidified himself as the starter. Last year, Cordenbrock passed for nearly 1,800 yards and 10 touchdowns, and narrowly led the Keydets to an upset win at Liberty. While the running game will need to address the graduation of Chaz Jones, the receiving corps has plenty of capable hands with 6 players returning who caught at least 10 balls each, headlined by receiver Dexter Bridge and tight end Mario Thompson. New defensive coordinator Jeff Farrington will have a makeover on his to-do list with the graduation of perennial all-conference players A.J. Gross and Byron Allen. And VMI will call on safety Michael Johnson and defensive lineman Charlie Jones to lead the charge in 2012. Johnson is the Keydets' top returning tackler with 58, while Jones had 11 of his 40 total tackles last year behind the line. Senior defensive lineman Sean Chapman returns after leading the Big South with 5 quarterback sacks in 2011. Head coach Ron Dickerson Jr. got his first taste of the competitiveness of Big South football last year in his first season on the Gardner-Webb sidelines. And that experience, along with 20 returning starters, had the Runnin' Bulldogs charged for a return to the top of the conference standings. Running back Kenny Little burst onto the scene last year in his first full season on the field as he rushed for 1,072 yards and 7 touchdowns while averaging 5.2 yards per carry. Fellow back Ricky Rhodes added 553 yards from the backfield and is a versatile weapon all over the field. Competition is wide open at both the receiver spot and quarterback position, but Dickerson has 4 veterans to turn to lead the offense, including Chandler Browning and Lucas Beatty. The defensive front is led by Preston Pamasa and Matt Goods. Pamasa has 28 tackles for loss in just 2 seasons and already ranks 11th in Big South history with 11 career quarterback sacks. Goods had 34 tackles and 7 for loss last year from his interior line position. The secondary features Gianni Olivas and Ivan Toomer, who combined for 5 interceptions in 2011. Surprisingly, the Runnin' Bulldogs will have to retool their depth at linebacker in 2012. Presbyterian College enters 2012 as full-fledged Division I members, and the Blue Hose are capitalizing on this milestone to build on a 500 record from last season. Head coach Harold Nichols returns an experienced squad with 48 letter winners and expects a healthy competition for the quarterback position this season with several available on the roster. Coach Nichols will rely on running back Lance Bird to carry the load in 2012. Bird rushed for 910 yards and 8 touchdowns and wrote to second-team All-League honors last year. and enters the 2012 campaign needing just 51 yards to become the 12th Big South player with 2,000 career rushing yards. Whoever is under center will have the luxury of throwing to Michael Ruff. Ruff caught a team-high 38 receptions last year and is joined on the outside by Anderico Bailey and Jeremiah Mackey. PC's defense will have to make up for the departures of Brian Davis and NFL draft pick Justin Bethel. Ready to move into a starter's role is 2011 Freshman of the Year Donnell Williams. Williams was second on the squad with 83 stops from his linebacker position, including 49 solo hits. Safety Cedric Byrd added 50 tackles, and linebacker L.J. Perry contributed 47 stops, including 7 behind the line of scrimmage. One of 2 new head coaches in the Big South football family in 2012 is Joe Moglia, who takes over the reins at Coastal Carolina. As CCU enters its 10th season of football, the venerable leader has 19 starters returning and 49 letter winners who will be counted on to lead the Chanticleers into a new era. Coach Moglia will turn to Aramis Hillary to lead the offense in 2012. Hillary was impressive in his first year as a starter, passing for more than 1,700 yards and 14 touchdowns with just 5 picks. He also rushed for 268 yards and 7 scores, and his mobility won a few games for the Chants in 2011. The Chants also have Travis Small and Marcus Whitener to run the ball, as Small led Coastal with 432 rushing yards last season, and Whitener averaged 5.3 yards a carry. Matt Hazel is an exciting receiver and is sure to top his 32 receptions and 6 touchdowns in 2011. The return of All-American tight end David Duran solidifies the offense. Coastal will have to replace leading tackler and NFL draft pick Josh Norman in 2012, but welcomes back linebacker Andre Jacobs and safety Johnny Houston. Jacobs made 46 tackles last year, including 10 for loss, while Houston had 49 stops and 2 interceptions in the secondary. Defensive lineman Chris Thomas returns after making 30 stops and 8.5 tackles for loss in 2011. The second new head coach in the Big South this season is Turner Gill, who takes over the Liberty Flames program. The experienced mentor begins his first season in Lynchburg with a new quarterback, but expectations remain the same, a Big South title. Coach Gill's first task is to find a quarterback to replace All-American Mike Brown, and competing for the starting spot will be Brian Hudson and Josh Woodrum. The ground game has some familiar faces, as Aldrakis Allen and Sir Chauncey Holloway are back to lead the attack. Allen rushed for more than 600 yards last year with 8 touchdowns, while Holloway added close to 300 rushing yards. Both average more than 5 yards a carry. Pat Kelly has the upper hand to replace Chris Summers as the Flames' go-to receiver after recording 40 catches for 591 yards a season ago. The defense returned 6 of its top 7 tacklers from last season, led by defensive back Chris Mayo, who had 64. Linebacker Nick Sigmon had 60 stops and 7.5 for loss a year ago as a freshman, while linebacker Scott Hyland had 46 hits. Walt Aikens and Kevin Fogg are a dangerous corner tandem, as both players had 3 interceptions and more than 45 tackles in 2011. Fogg also was the nation's leading kickoff returner last year. Francis Baugh anchors the front 4 for the Flames. With 17 starters returning from the first team in Big South history to go 6-0 in league play, as well as win a game in the 2011 FCS playoffs, the Stony Brook Seawolves are the preseason favorite to win the Big South Championship in 2012. Despite the loss of All-American Brock Tucholsky, the Seawolves' punishing run game again features 2 talented backs, Miguel Masonette and transfer Marcus Coker. Masonette led the Big South with 1,633 rushing yards and added 15 rushing scores and scored 4 touchdowns in a game twice last season. He enters 2012 less than 900 yards from becoming the Big South's all-time leading rusher. The steady Kyle Essington returns at quarterback after throwing for 20 touchdowns and close to 2,000 yards. His main targets downfield will be Kevin Norrell and Jordan Gush. The defensive side is equally stocked with talent, as the squad's top 5 tacklers return in 2012. Linebacker Dan Mulrooney paced the team with 75 tackles, in addition to recording 7 for loss and 3 fumble recoveries. Linebacker JAWARA Dudley returns after making 71 stops and 8 behind the line. Cornerbacks DOMINICK Reyes and Devontae Anderson are great cover guys, while Jonathan Coates headlines the defensive front. And now, the 2012 Preseason All-Conference Team and Preseason Players of the Year, as voted by the Big South head coaches and our media panel. First, for the special teams. Stony Brook's all-time kick-scoring leader, Wesley Skiffington, is the Preseason All-Conference kicker. while Presbyterian College's Patrick Morgano receives the preseason nod at punter. Returning All-American Richard Wright from Liberty is the top long snapper, while teammate and preseason All-American Kevin Fogg is the preseason kickoff return specialist. Coastal Carolina's Nicolo Mastromateo receives the preseason punt return specialist honor. Charleston Southern senior cornerback Charles James is the Big South's preseason Defensive Player of the Year. A preseason All-American by the Sports Network, James recorded 66 tackles last season in addition to 2 interceptions and 7 pass breakups. He is the second Buccaneer to receive the Big South's preseason defensive honor. Joining James on the preseason All-Conference defensive team at defensive back are Liberty duo Walt AIKENS and Kevin Fogg, and Stony Brook's DOMINICK REYES. The preseason All-Conference defensive line features Gardner-Webb tandem Preston Pamasa and Matthew Goods, Liberty's Francis Baugh, and Coastal Carolina's Chris Thomas. Voted to the preseason All-Conference team at linebacker were Coastal Carolina's Andre Jacobs, Stony Brook's JAWARA Dudley, Liberty's Nick SIGMON, and Presbyterian's Donnell Williams. Stony Brook senior running back Miguel Masonette is the Big South's preseason Offensive Player of the Year. The conference's postseason honoree in 2011, Masonette is 5th all-time in Big South history with 2,761 rushing yards and has scored 27 rushing TDs in his 2 seasons on Long Island. He enters his senior season on the Walter Payton Award watch list. Joining Masonette on the preseason All-Conference team in the backfield are Stony Brook quarterback Kyle Essington and Gardner-Webb rusher Kenny Little. The preseason All-Conference receivers are Charleston Southern's Nathan Perera, Coastal Carolina's Matt Hazel, and Liberty's Pat Kelly. Voted to the preseason All-Conference offensive line were Gardner-Webb's Jamie Dunaway, Liberty preseason All-American Malcolm Boyd, Coastal Carolina's Jamie Chitwood, Gardner-Webb's Steve D'Amelio, and Stony Brook's Michael Bamiro. Coastal Carolina preseason All-American David DURAN is again the preseason All-Conference pick at tight end. It is time to kick off the 2012 season and begin the quest for the Big South Football Championship. We wish all the teams the best of luck in 2012 and look forward to the weekend of November 17th when a new Big South football champion is crowned and its playoff destination announced.